This is the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
From 98.1 CHFI Studios in Toronto, Canada.
Hey Toronto, this is Ed Sheeran.
This is Kelly Clarkson.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
This is Adele.
This is Madonna.
It's Michael Bublé, and you're listening to the Pooja and Gurdeep Show. It's fun. They're amazing.
After waking you up and helping you grow a green thumb for more than 2 decades, a Canadian TV legend and daily staple is hanging up his morning TV watering can today. Today was Frankie Flowers' last show as co-host and large, lovable personality on breakfast television. Frankie, good morning. Mixed emotions.
I'm off to pollinate other things, I guess.
Said nobody ever.
And we've taken it offside right away.
Well, that's just how I am.
Yeah. You just came off air with breakfast television. That's it. You're not going back Monday to Friday anymore. How are you feeling?
You know, there's a little bit of sadness because this is something that you've done for so long, and this is what you know as really just your schedule and your identity. So it's like, hey, how's this going to feel? And you get a little bit of sadness of that. You're excited as well because you're like, I get to sleep in, and there's other things I get to do now. I get to actually see what the end of a hockey game looks like or a sporting event.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
And then maybe I can watch a movie and stay awake. So there's so many different emotions that you have. But change is something that I think everybody fears. And when you get into change, you're also like a little anxious too.
You know, I think that when people talk about retirement, they're like, oh, you know, I'm going to retire. And you look forward to this, but then you're also like, but what am I going to do? What if I get bored and all of that stuff? Do you fear that might happen to you, that you might be like, okay, this is exciting. There's all these things I couldn't do before, and now I can do them. But am I going to get bored? Am I going to miss it?
I think I'm going to miss aspects. There's so many things that you're going to miss. There's something about, you know, when it came to the opening for the Jays, the home opener, I'd be there in the morning. There's no way that I'll ever be able to feel that again. Mm-hmm. Disney, when we go to Disney, and I'd be there before the park opened. You know, those are early morning things that I'll never, ever get to experience. I'm so grateful about those. I'm not going to retire per se. I'm retiring from 3 a.m. That's what I say. That's what time I've been getting up for the last 20 years. But I will be busy, and I'm always somebody that's doing different things. I get bored easy. So that's the one thing I need to figure out how to kind of calm down and settle down.
There, you know, you touched on something there, and I think only people who get up at what I call the crack of stupid, like all of us in this room, will appreciate. But there is something magical about being up early, whether it's the drive to work with no traffic or just like you're out before the sun's even up. It feels like you're up before the entire world. Other than sleeping in and kind of getting your life back, what's the thing you're kind of looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to spending more time with my boys before, like, even though they're 18 and 16, it seems like I'm losing them every day because they're getting more and more independent being with their friends. So I want to make sure that I capture that. I want to make sure that we can actually have memorable moments. My father as well is 82, and my mom want to spend more time with family. Those are things that I look forward to. And then in terms of the horticultural gardening industry, it's super passionate about it. So next week I'll be heading off on a plane. I'll be over towards North Carolina and also through Atlanta looking at new plant varieties. So right away I'll be looking at what we're going to be growing in our gardens coming up as well.
You're a wild man.
I know. I get super excited about plants. Like, there is something that's so cool about Mother Nature. And that's like, it's not like I'm going to go to Cancun and get drunk and, you know, dance to the wee hours of the morning. I may do that too.
They have plants in Cancun too.
Oh, they have plants. Yeah. They make tequila out of those plants.
Push, the way the look on Frankie's face when he talks plants, you saw it light up, right?
Yeah.
Is that me when I talk about like hockey? Is that what happens?
That's you when you talk about like bacon. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You get excited about lots of things.
Hockey's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned your dad and, you know, him aging as well. What does it sort of look like for you in terms of not living by the clock and actually having that time to spend now with family?
What does it look like? It's still going to be a lot of early mornings. Like, I enjoy early mornings, so I like to start my day early. Being with my dad still drives a truck, so my dad is still going to the Ontario Food Terminal 2 times a week, selling flowers, picking up fruit, talking to everybody from Longo's that, you know, was just a small little family business to Highland Farms, those other businesses that I grew up along. So I think I'll be doing that as well. I may be getting up the odd day earlier than what I used to on BT. But it's just kind of different. That's how I grew up, and getting back to your roots and just, you know, staying true to who you are.
Does your dad, like, is he happy about you working with him some more?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's been asking me since the first day I started on BT. He said, when are you going to come back to work? He's like, what are you talking about? That's not work. It's not work. Work for him is physical.
Has to be manual labor, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, Frankie, now that you're sort of like at the finish line, you've crossed the finish line here with BT, like, I'm so far away from retiring, but like I have this aspirational thing, and I haven't shared this with anyone, but I have this aspirational like thing I keep on my iPhone notepad, the notepad where like I've just outlined what my perfect day looks like when I'm not, and I love this job and I love mornings, but when I'm not doing this job, I've outlined, because for me, it's not like a financial number I'm chasing to get to quote unquote retirement or quote unquote freedom. It's not about the number. It's about getting the time back to do what you want with it. So I've outlined like a schedule of my perfect day, which involves, waking up at this time and working out and then doing a stretching routine and then doing a cold plunge and then journaling and then on and on and on and on. And that to me is what I'm chasing mentally.
Right.
Do you have like an exercise like that, like you've done? Do you have something that you've jotted down that's personal to you that now is here?
So what you're describing is what's called a vivid vision. So this is something that is a really good practice for a lot of people to do. Because if you want to live a certain life, you write down that vision and then you try to work towards that vision. You either find the right job to get there. So I do have that vision as well. What time I want to get up? How many trips do I want to take a year? How many epic trips do I want to take a year? What do I want to achieve? Do I want that waterfront property later on in life? All these different things. And that's a great way. It's something that a lot of strategy has been done around vivid vision. I'm somebody that dives into this quite a lot. And I'm super impressed that you're doing that. That's a great way.
Thank you. Is there anything, I know it's a personal thing, is there anything you can share from your vivid vision that's something you're kind of looking towards?
I'm restructuring my vivid vision because as life goes along, you're going to change and alter that vivid vision. So, it was a period of time I was married. So that's my vivid vision looked very differently then. Right. And then I was working in BT. So I had a different vivid vision at that time. So now probably this summer, the next 2 months, I'm going to try to figure out what that looks like and what I want it to be. And sometimes that's when you have all the opportunity in the world is the hardest thing to figure it out. So right now, at 53 years of age, I'm still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I love that.
That's kind of exciting too, right? There's something about like being scared. I don't know if people really know what I mean by that, but it's that uneasy, but also curiosity and excitement that comes with whatever this next adventure is going to bring for you.
Yeah, change is that's change, right?
Yeah.
And what change is that your fear of failing. That's what we all fear, but it's so exciting that you're able to fail.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I wish we all could be like little kids again. When we fall down and we just get back up. We fall down and we just get back up, and every day is exciting. And that's what, as you're trying to go into a new phase, which I am, I want every day to be exciting. What does that look like? I'm just going to be open, see what the day brings. And every day I wake up, I'm like, hey, nobody in my family's sick right now. My kids are good. What a great day.
Okay. Vivid vision. Sorry, I have to ask you. I love love.
Yeah.
Do you see love in that vivid vision?
Ooh, get the popcorn.
I hope so. You know what I mean? Love is something that is defined by many things. I have a dog that loves me amazingly so.
I'm not asking you about your dog.
But I got
I'm asking about
I got to break this down because as a parent, the truest love ever is being a parent.
Yes.
I don't think there's any other love that you'll feel like that. What you're looking for is trust and support. Mm-hmm. So that's what I look for right now is trust and support. So will it be love? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm somebody that I cry at romantic movies. I cried, Vince Vaughn's new movie, Nonas, that just came out.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Is it good?
I friggin' cried.
Isn't it a comedy?
It is a comedy, but it's about his grandmother and his mother and the recipes. And like that house was like my house.
Aww.
And then, he was just, it was so simple. But yeah, no, I love rom-coms. I love the cheesier the music, the better. I've seen, Boyz II Men. I think I've seen them 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Boyz II Men is great.
Boyz II Men are great.
Motown Philly, man.
Let's go.
Back again.
I love that. Okay, so it's Frankie. If you're listening, Frankie is looking for trust. He's looking for support. And hopefully she's cute too. We'll throw that in there because let's be real, we're still dudes. I appreciate a sensitive man, Frankie. I think that's really good. Okay, I want to dive into your career a little bit, looking back, because everyone knows who you've been waking up with. You've been waking people up for more than 2 decades on breakfast television. Canada is really going to miss you. TV's going to hit different on Monday morning. Let's just start off with Frankie Flowers, because we all know your name is Frank Ferragine. Where the heck did Frankie Flowers come from? Because it's brilliant branding.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So where it came from, first off, my real name is Francis Anthony, right? So a lot of people don't know that. Frankie came around because the bank in Bradford, CIBC, at one period, put my grandfather's money, because he was the same name as me, in my account. So then all of a sudden I became Frankie at the bank.
Okay, I like that.
Then I was always working. Like my after-school program was my family business. My summer school program was my family business. Everything. So I actually, even my final year of high school, I almost didn't get my credits. Not that I didn't have good marks. I just didn't have enough hours in school. So everybody always saw me with flowers. They always just saw me, delivering flowers, working with flowers, doing all that. So all my ice hockey buddies and all my friends would call me Flowers. They just call me Flowers. So it just became Frankie Flowers. And when I started doing TV, people couldn't say my last name right. At all.
Really? It's not complicated.
But they would always bastardize it many different ways. And so I just said, just call me Flowers. Just call me Frankie Flowers. And then what happened was I was like, oh, people really like saying this. So when I wrote my first book, I said, can we do it as Frankie Flowers? Because I was like, hey, that's memorable. That's what people... And then also when you say that, you either think I'm a mobster or I grow flowers.
I was going to say, right?
And there's a little bit of truth to both of them. I'm the mob of plants, man.
But there's something so endearing about a nickname, right? Because I think even whether they're strangers, complete strangers who come up to you, or whether it's your loved ones who call you Frankie Flowers, isn't there just like an immediate warmth that comes with it?
Oh, yeah. And I also feel that people smile when they say it. So it makes them happy. And that's really what I've always wanted to do, is make people happy. So it's kind of fun. And it's something that, as a lot of people still think my last name is Flowers, but that's okay too. I think it's great too that, for kids maybe that are listening to this too, I used to get teased about how I was working with flowers all the time. And then what happened was those same people that would tease me about that, once they got houses, were calling me, asking me for advice on how to grow their flowers, right? So sometimes what you think is not your superpower becomes your superpower.
I love that so much. It's the best nickname in Canadian media going, Frankie Flowers. Do any of your actual official documentation, like your driver's license, does that say Flowers?
No, nothing like that. Nothing whatsoever.
Okay.
Just my books. So the 4 books that I've done are Frankie Flowers. And we had that full discussion with my editor at the time. They're like, what do you want this book to be? Do you want it to be Frank Ferragine or do you want it to be Frankie Flowers? And I said, let's go with Frankie Flowers.
Okay, so you talked about being in your family business sort of 8 days a week, all the time with your family business. So then how did television present itself? How did this come about?
So I was supposed to go to school to be a lawyer because I was the first family member, first boy to graduate through. My sister graduated. She's a teacher. The year that I was supposed to go to Osgood, we opened a store up in Barrie, and my dad said, hey, take a year off. So I took the year off, and then I was like, hey, I kind of like this. And then at that point, I bought a house in Barrie because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take another year off. I saved money because I wanted to buy a Jeep. But then I was like, talk to somebody, and they said, buy a house. So I bought a house for $134,000. And then I rented the upstairs and the basement, and then I bought another house. And the next thing you know, I'm just kind of doing the garden center stuff. And then we started buying ads on CKVR, which then became the new VR, which is now CTV2.
I remember the new VR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I started doing gardening tips on that station. And then what happened was I was volunteering because I was super interested in just this world of TV. And one weekend, the weather guy was sick. Roger Klein was sick at the time. And they said, Frank, can you do weather? And I said, sure.
Could you do weather, or were you fudging it?
When you're farming, like we farmed and we also had the garden centers, weather's our world, right? We follow weather like no other tomorrow because it's our maker, our breaker. And so I knew weather. I knew how it actually applied to people and how it would affect people. I have a cousin that does concrete. My cousin Eddie. Hey, imagine that.
Now you sound like a mobster.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, cousin Eddie, get me some concrete.
Hey,
you got to deal with something.
But what temperature can you do concrete at? I knew weather. I knew the way that weather affects. So I did it. And then the news director was like, okay, you're good. Can you do weekends? And I started doing weekends. And then I started doing some reporting. And then I actually left because I worked at the new VR for, I think it was 4 or 5 years. And then I went back to my family business because they expanded in wholesale. And then I started doing gardening tips on breakfast television. And then when I was at breakfast television, there was going to be a mat leave for the person doing weather at the time. And I said,
and what year is this approximately? Just
this
to put
is
me
in
the
2003, 2004.
Okay.
And then I just said, hey, I can do weather. And they were like, okay, do an audition. So I did an audition. And the day I did an audition, there was a guy named Xanta in Toronto who would always wear a Santa hat and do push-ups.
I remember Xanta.
Yeah, and he was doing push-ups behind me while I was doing my audition in February with no shirt on. And I think because I wasn't distracted and I kind of made fun of him, I think he got me the job.
Shout out Xanta.
Yeah, Dave. His name was Dave. I talked to him later on,
No,
too.
his name's Xanta.
Yeah, Xanta.
Wait. So you talked to Dave afterwards. Did you tell him the story?
Yeah, I did. Dave is somebody that actually had fallen, I think, off a construction site, and actually had some impacts with that. And so that's why he was doing these things. And he was a character. I don't know where he is to this day, but he was somebody who always wanted every day to be Christmas. That's why he dressed like Santa.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I think my memory may be a little fuzzy, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I do remember that at the time at Breakfast Television, you were there for a mat leave position, and we were like, okay, well, I guess he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And then you weren't gone, and you're still there to this day.
I was gone for a week.
So, what happened?
So the mat leave ended, and then they said to me that, hey, you could do weekends. And I was like, I'm not going to do weekends. I said, I'll go back to sell petunias. And then I just took a week off. And then I think it was about 2 weeks later, they were like, hey, we would like you back. I think it was a week or 2 weeks later.
So this must mean, because this is before the days of social media and all that, like this was probably tons of viewers writing in physical mail saying, hey, we want Frankie back. I'm guessing this is probably what this was, right?
I think there was email then.
Email. Okay, there was email. Wait, are you sure it wasn't like carrier pigeon? I don't know.
I think there was email and color TV then, yes.
Sorry, my time frames are all messed up.
The Pooja and Gurdeep Podcast.
This is the Pooja and Gurdeep Podcast.
Yeah, it was emails. Yeah, there was apparently a lot of emails. I won't tell you how many, but there was enough.
You know the number?
I knew that. I know a roundabout number.
Is the podcast nobody listens? Tell us.
No, I'm not. No, there was a lot. That's what I was told. There was a
But that
lot.
must have just felt so unbelievably great that you had that kind of impact in a short amount of time. It takes a long time for people to get used to people, and people fell in love with you instantly.
Kevin Frankish was great at the time too, because we could play off each other. So, sometimes in order to be a great player, and it doesn't matter whether you're in a business or in a team, it's the people that surround you that allow you to play the way that you can play. And so I think the combination of everybody that was there at that moment allowed me to have a lot of fun. And that's what we did was, we were a part of the street at 299 Queen Street at the time. And we just had fun, and we just made fun of what things were happening in the city at that time. And the city's changed quite a bit from 2005 to today. There's so many buildings that have popped up and different things that have happened. But it was, shout out to everybody that I've worked with along the lines, because they allowed me to play in my sandbox.
I would have kept those emails for contract renegotiation time. Been like, hey,
Remember when?
these 8,400 people who emailed? They love me, more or less. Sorry, you don't have to answer. That's fine.
No. Yeah. I was all my family members. I have a big family.
Why not?
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
So you're on the show, and obviously you're having a lot of fun. But part of that fun is also meeting some incredible people, from celebrities to everyday people. I'm sure you've had so many wonderful interactions over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Any standouts for you?
I got a standout quote for me was Mike Pinball Clemens.
The
Mike,
best.
Yeah, he's the best. And he, when I first became a dad, he said to me, "Look, man, you could be a successful man, but you're not going to be a successful father. But if you are a successful father, you are a successful man."
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget the quote that he told me that on that day. So, Mike Pinball Clemens is somebody who stood out to me. Richard Branson. I actually was in the bathroom beside Richard Branson going pee, yeah. And I said to Richard Branson, "Oh, a knight with a sword," because he's actually been knighted.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And he was
Sorry,
peeing.
my mind went somewhere else.
That one took me.
And he's peeing. And he said, that was a memorable moment I think I created for him. I was never afraid to actually say anything to anybody at the time.
When you said that, did you just hear his stream stop immediately?
No, he just said, "Hey, mate, that's the funniest thing somebody has ever told me."
He's like, and that's Sir, by the way.
Sir Branson, is that a sword in your hand?
He's like, "Eyes straight ahead, sir."
But, along the way, like Mark Cuban stood out because he just came in a cab. There's somebody who's a billionaire that just came in a cab and sat there and just chatted with others. What's his name from the Kiss? Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons, yeah.
One of the biggest. Can I swear? No.
The podcast. I mean, it depends which one you're going to use.
He was a terrible.
We can bleep it.
Yeah, he was just a terrible person. He was
Really?
He was terrible once when he came in, and he was just really because it's mornings, right? So mornings they could be tired from whatever has been going on in their lives. But he was just somebody who was really mean to the staff and mean to others as well. But then when he came in with his wife, Shannon, he was really nice. So you get to see, but everybody has a bad day. Yeah. So that's where I always gave the grace to, is that sometimes we have these celebrities that come in and you hear about them and you don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't know what's happening there. And so everybody has the right to a bad day. So I saw Bad Gene once and I saw Good Gene another time.
Okay. I'm glad there was a bit of a redemption story in there for him.
Yeah.
When was he wearing makeup? As which one? None.
None. No, but I did see him up at Rama. I'm a big fan of Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love, Beth, which is one of their slow songs, because I'm a romantic. So there you go. Beth, I hear you calling.
So Pooja and I obviously spent a ton of most of our career in television before we made the jump to radio, and we have no shortage of bloopers. I'll share one of mine real quick.
Okay.
I was supposed to say Reese's Pieces on the air, and I hit it cold in the prompter, and for some reason I said Reese's Penis.
Oh, yeah.
And the internet was not kind that day. You've been in TV for a hot minute, Frankie. When I say Frankie Flowers TV bloopers, what bubbles to the surface?
It's probably the most recent one is not what I said, but what happened. So I was out at Lake Ontario and we're doing Live Eye. And so I just finished doing a weather. And then I was at the water park where they have those inflatables that you sit on and people jump on and then they launch you.
Oh,
okay.
Right? So I should have probably did a little bit more research on this because I just did weather and they said, okay, then we want you to go to the pillow. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump on it and then you're going to launch in, but lean forward. And then if you lean forward, you're going to fall right. Well, when you're doing live and you have to pull an earpiece out, make sure your mic's off because you're going into water.
A lot of moving parts.
And then you get to this pillow thing and then they go 3, 2, 1, and they jump on it. Well, it takes a little bit of time for that pillow to inflate before it launches you. So I thought it was 3, 2, 1, and then I would just go. Well, I'm sitting at 3, 2, 1, and nothing's happening. So I turned to look, and then as soon as I look, it launched me. And it launched me to the point where I fell in shoulder head first.
No.
And I was like, ooh, this is going to hurt. And then I swam out of the water and gave everybody the thumbs up. But I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this in this moment. And then after when I got back onto shore, our director at the time said, can you do it again for the end of show?
No.
No. So that was a blooper that they used it quite a bit to show because even I didn't look graceful at all. I looked like a whale. That was I looked bad. I looked really bad.
Is it on YouTube? Because now I want to watch it.
It's probably, I think it's on YouTube. They used that this morning for my with your little goodbye.
Yeah, I love
when they're supposed to do the highlight reel of goodbye. I think the whole reel this morning was me with my shirt off.
That's your lasting image.
Yeah, I did one on-air segment where I was interviewing a nudist, and so I did the interview because nobody else on our show would do it, and I just sat there with a plant in front of my legs.
Dude, no way!
But I had underwear on.
What year was this?
Just recent, in the last 3 years, last 2-3 years.
That's amazing.
Whoa!
Yeah, and so I did an interview because at the time our host at the time wouldn't do it. And they wanted to talk about body inclusivity. And I thought this is important because it was like, hey, right now we're comparing everything on Instagram to everything. So I thought this is a really good message. And this is where we can, tell people, even we not always feel good. And the purpose of this was to be a good message to young people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But then if you just see it for what it is, it's me just sitting there with a plant in front of me. It was a really nice fern, though.
I mean,
I have a follow-up. Yeah. How did you decide what plant to use? Was it like a large plant? Was it a smaller plant?
It was a Kimberly Queen fern. I actually know
that
the
a big
variety. Yeah, it's good. Good coverage. Yeah, but still good air
good coverage.
circulation. It lets
Okay.
everything breathe.
All the things.
Yes.
is this before or after you became single?
This was while.
He was breaking up with someone during this segment.
This was all the above. And then my mom. I think it's my mom. My mom, she's like, she watched me fall into the lake that time. She's like, I was afraid to call you after. And then she texts me during the segment when I got the plant between my legs. She's like, what are you doing? And then, but I did tell my boys beforehand. I always, anytime I did anything on air, I would talk to my boys and I'd be like, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this. How do you feel?
Oh, okay.
Because their friends would always comment to them, right? So it's always like, okay, this is bigger than me. Once you have kids, it's bigger than you, right? You have to be like, okay, guys, hey, This is what's going to go on. This is what I may do. What do you think? And then they're just like, they're teenage boys now. They just tease me all the time. Like they tease me. Like if somebody comes up to me and they're like, oh my God, it's Frankie Flowers. And they would take a picture and all the rest. My boys behind them are like making faces at me and going, oh my God. And like just mocking me the whole time.
This is something for you to keep in mind, Pooch,
Oh,
is
dear.
seeing Bodhi grow up and start caring about what you do on the show.
I mean, right now I secretly record them and then I use them as content on the show. I mean, just cute things that they say, because they're saying the darndest things right now. They're toddlers, but there's going to come a day where that, like you said, I'm going to have to ask them what's okay, what's not okay. What do you know?
There will be a reckoning.
Yeah. And I think that's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, what you'll go through is there's a point where they want to be, where they
Right.
want to be recorded, they want to have their pictures taken.
Yeah.
And then there's a period where they don't want to be whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I tell my kids all the time, the reckoning for me is just like, hey, I wiped your bum when you were young. Later on in life, I need you to wipe mine.
This is the circle of life, basically,
That is.
right? This is it.
Well,
This
yeah.
is great parenting advice. Speaking of parents, so when your parents watch you on TV, when your family watches you on TV over the years, over the last 20 years, I mean, I know my mom likes to keep it real. She'll be the one to call and be like, you look very tired today. And I'm like, Mom, I don't feel tired. I actually feel great. She's like, well, you don't look it. So what's the feedback you got from your family from any of the things that you've done on air? What's like the thing that they called you about?
My father has no filter. And my father, when, I was, getting into my 50s and I'm on air and I turned the one time, he calls me and he's like, hey, I know you got a little bit of a bald spot on the back of your head. He's like, have you ever thought about Rogaine? I'm like, thanks,
Dad.
But you know what? I know that it came from the right intention, right?
Yes.
But it made me howl because, that's when I was going through my separation and my divorce. And
Like, I don't need this right now. You're piling on.
I'm like, okay, Dad, yeah, let me talk to you about what no, it was funny. I like, that's him, never had a filter.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, my mom's super supportive. She's always been the one that, if it's, you look tired, it's like, are you okay?
Yes. It comes from a place of concern.
Right,
Do you
it's
need
just
me to
very
bring,
blunt.
all of a sudden chicken soup would be at my house and all those different things. That's my mom. My dad is the other side, which he's reality.
It's a good balance. A very good balance.
Yeah.
Frankie, I think one of the big reasons you're going to be missed by so many across this country is that you are a man of the people, right? Like you're usually not stuck in studio. You're out, you're doing something fun. You're helping people out with their gardens, their questions. Do you have a story with a fan, an audience member that kind of sticks out that's happened over the years?
Over the years, probably one of the most memorable things was at Wasaga Beach when I was doing Whether a Person Walked Behind Me Nude. That was probably one of the
A lot of your stories are nude stories.
Yeah, but those are the things that you remember, right?
This is true. I asked the question, yeah.
It's just what I do remember is a lot of people that will tell me that, when my mom had cancer, they would watch every morning and you made them smile. There's a lot of those stories. And then there's the stories of people that grew up watching you and they're like, hey, I remember you. And it's kind of funny though, is like, they're like 20 and they're like, I grew up watching you. And you're like, oh my God, I'm that old.
Doesn't that make you feel old? I had someone say that to me recently too. They're like, oh man, you're a Toronto legend. I grew up watching you. And they looked like they were like 25. And I was like, but I'm still growing up. What do you mean you grew up watching me?
Or when they're like, my grandma loves you. You're like, oh my God, the grandmas love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or it's a really cute girl and she walks up to you and she's like, my mom loves you. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, what
You're
about
like,
you?
How do you feel about me?
I guess.
Yeah, there's lots of memories. Like there's too many memories to, like when it comes to viewers, there's so many that stand out. Like we had viewer appreciation days. We would be down in Niagara Falls as well, doing different events, tree sales. We did a lot of food drives. Those are all really great things that we've done. And then all the live eyes. Like I really found it interesting to go to businesses early in the morning before they open and you do a live eye. You get to know the family behind a bakery. Mm-hmm. You get to know kind of how these businesses are operating. And so I find like I'm somebody who's an entrepreneur and I love just kind of figuring out those. And at the end of it, it's just, I've flown with the snowbirds. I've been on the side of the CN Tower for 4 hours. I've rappelled off the side of buildings. I've done ice climbing.
You sound like a superhero.
Yeah. But it's like, wow, if it looks like a bucket list of things that I've done. And I didn't have to pay for any of them.
That's the best part. Universally in Canadian media, and I think world media, we are cheap. We're cheap. We like free stuff.
Yeah, just
It's
have
true.
an event with food and you'll get media people
That's
show
all.
up.
We would come to the opening of an envelope.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a career. You will be missed dearly. Do you have, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but do you have some parting words or things that you want to say just so people know before you leave? This is what Frankie Flowers wants to be remembered by.
I just want people to be good to each other. That's the first and foremost thing. I think right now we really need that. And that just, every day's a new day. So when you wake up in the morning, just say today's a new day. So no matter how bad yesterday was, today is your new day, and just make it with a smile. So it's up to you to make it great. And every day is a gift. And I truly believe that. I lost my brother in 1998 to cancer. He was 22 years of age.
Oh, gosh.
And so every day is a new day, and I live to honor him.
Frankie, one of the nicest parts about Pooja and I coming over to Rogers from the other guys a few years ago is that you went from a guy who I had met but had mostly watched on my screen to now being, hope I'm not stretching here, now being able to call you a friend.
Really good
and
friend,
someone that
yeah.
I'd actually hang out with outside of work. So that's been a blessing. We both grew up watching you. Hope that doesn't make you feel. We love you. We can't wait to follow along your adventures and what comes next. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this on your special day.
Hey guys, have a blooming great day, and I'm going to be around. I'll be there, and if you need plant advice, I'm always here for you. And let's continue to grow, everybody. Let's grow. Be good people.
Thanks for listening to the Pooja and Gurdeep podcast.
Listen to Pooja and Gurdeep live weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Only on 98.1 CHFI.
Toronto's perfect music mix.